Hey everybody, welcome to the video for counting slope. If you have your notes, go ahead and grab them. If you don't, just pay close attention. Before we practice actually counting the slope of a line, which will tell us how steep a line is, we're going to review the three types of slope that we focus on in 8th grade. So for us here in Virginia, in 8th grade, we focus on positive slopes, negative slopes, and zero slopes. If you're thinking, Miss Benson, there's another kind of slope that you've forgotten, I didn't forget it. These are just the three that we focus on in Virginia in 8th grade. If your teacher showed you a fourth kind of slope, that's awesome. I'm not going to get into it today though. All right? These three kinds of slope will tell us the direction of a line. If I say that a line has a positive slope, we know that from left to right, that line is increasing. If I tell you that a line has a negative slope, we know that from left to right, it's decreasing. And if I tell you that a line has a zero slope, we know that it is a horizontal line like this. But these don't give you all of the information that you might want. So they don't tell you how steep the line is, because a positive slope could look like that one that I've already drawn, or it could be steeper, or it could be even less steep. All of those are positive slopes, but we don't get that extra information until we learn how to count slope. And the way that we do that is we pick 2 points, or we're given 2 points, and we count the rise over run, which is what this fraction is here. You're going to hear us say this a bunch of times. So we're going to write that out. We're going to count the rise, which is how far up or down a line is going. So the way that we teach it, Mrs. Voss and I, is that if a line is going up, it's going to have a positive slope. And if a line is going down, it's going to have a negative slope. And that only works because the way that we count run is we always go to the right. Now, if you're in a higher math or your Math 8 teacher taught it to you differently, that's fine. But the Benson-Voss method says go up or down first. That'll tell you if it's positive or negative. And then always run to the right. And a lot of the times we get forgetful with this, or we get it mixed up with other things in math. So it's really helpful if you can come up with a way to remember this. So I have some pictures. I have a soccer player and an astronaut and a bunny here that kids have come up with different ways for remembering to go up or down first and then go to the right. So if you have a copy of these notes, see if you can come up with a way to remember this, or copy one of these examples that's been done. We have the soccer player jumping up and then running right towards the goal. We have the rocket that's gone up into the sky, landed, and now the astronaut is walking on the moon or whatever planet he's on. Here we have this adorable little bunny jumping up and then running to the right. So whatever method you come up with for remembering up or down and then right. So let's do some examples so we can actually see this in practice. So the way that you do this is if you are given a graph, you have to pick 2 points on this graph first, but you need to pick those points really carefully. They need to be what we call integral coordinates, which means it needs to be a point that's exactly on a corner. So like that point would be -4, -1, and it has integral coordinates because both of those numbers are integers. Versus if I drew a dot that was in between some lines, or even in the middle of one of these squares, I could not write the coordinates of that with just integers. So we want to stay away from points like that. All right, so we're going to pick 2 points on this graph, and the graph is not perfect, but I do have the answer key, so I know where there's supposed to be points. We're going to go with it, okay? I'm going to mark this point right here, which is 0, 1. You don't have to write the coordinates of it, but just to show you that all of my coordinates are integers, I'm going to go ahead and write it out. And then I'm going to follow that line to the right until I bump into another integral coordinate, which is right there at 2, -2. See how all of those numbers are integers? That means we found 2 good points. And I certainly hope that all of the pictures you see in the future are a little more accurate than this one, but we're doing our best out here. Okay, now when I count my slope, I'm going to count rise over run. Remember, rise is going to tell me whether I'm going up or down, whether my slope is going to be positive or negative. And then for our purposes, we're always going to run to the right, which means we want to start on the left side. So of the 2 points that I have picked out, 0, 1 is the leftmost point. So I'm going to start there and count towards the right, okay? So to get from 0, 1 to the next point, I'm going to go down. And I'm going to make some marks on this graph that I actually would prefer you didn't make when you're counting slope, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. And since I'm talking to you through a screen, this is really the only way that I can do it. So let me get like a blue here, all right? From this point, to get to that other purple point, I'm going to have to go down. And I'm going to count the number of spaces I go down. 1, 2, 3. So my rise is -3 because I went down first. Then I'm going to stop and I'm going to count how many places over I need to go. I need to go over 1, 2. So literally in my fraction, I put over 2. And this is my slope. Now, what this number does is it tells anybody in the entire world how steep this line is. So not just that it's negative, not just that it's going down, but it's going down 3 units or 3 blocks, and then it's going to the right 2 units. And anybody in the world who has taken the equivalent of Math 8 or Algebra 1 can now tell you exactly how steep this line is. And that's what counting slope lets us do. So let's look at another example. Okay. This one says, find the slope of the line that passes through 4, 1 and -2, 1. So this time they didn't give us a graph. We don't have to worry about whether Miss Benson and Miss Voss's art is perfect. We can just plot the points. So I'm going to plot 4, 1. That's right there. And I'm going to label it so you guys can see. And then I'm going to plot -2, 1, which is right there. And then I don't need to connect these with a line to see what kind of slope this is, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Let me grab a line tool so I don't make a mess out of things. Ooh, that line is kind of messy, isn't it? But if I look at that red line that I just made, what kind of slope is that? Well, that line has a 0 slope. So you can write it as the word, you can write it as the number, you could even write it as a fraction. Your rise is 0, and then your run would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you could say 0 over 6, but at the end of the day, your slope is just 0 on this one. Let's try one more, and I bet it's going to be a positive slope. What do you guys think? This one says, find the slope of the line represented by the table below. Now to count slope, you actually only need 2 points, but I'm going to go ahead and graph all 3 anyways. So let me graph real quick. -3, -5, 0, -4, and 3, -3. There's my 3 points. If you are drawing this by hand, I do not recommend I do not recommend connecting them. I'm on the computer, so I can use a dotted line tool or just a line tool to connect my points, but you don't need to. You can count the slope even if you don't connect your points. Okay, all we're going to do is count our rise and run, just like we did on that first one. So we're going to rise first, either up or down, and then we're going to run to the right, which means I want to start on the left. So this is my point that's on the left, the red one. And I'm going to count directions to the next point. So this time I'm going up, and I only have to go up 1 unit. So my rise is 1. And then I go over 1, 2, 3. So when I write my fraction, it's 1 over 3. And that's my slope. And you can check it with your second set of points. Let's get that blue again. Now, if I'm going from the blue point to the black point, I rise 1 and I run 1, 2, 3. And I get the same slope, 1 over 3. And now that tells anybody in the world who has ever studied slope how steep this line is. Not just that it has a positive slope, but exactly how steep it is. And that's all there is to counting slope. Great job, guys.